Alright guys, a pretty good lesson from today's trading, February 19th, in live trading chat room at greatstockpicks.com. If you saw the video we put out this weekend, talked about some stocks we were watching. WLT was one of them because it was strong the other day, and then did a partial retracement on Friday. And I said when this one can move, or this one moves, it can really move. Anyway, had this on watch. Now, the trading lesson here is sometimes you don't catch the big move, and there might still be money to be made. Okay, so this is what WLT looked like, 5-minute candles today. Now watch what happens when I add the next one. Okay, I did not catch this. You know, you would have had to have just caught it maybe right here as it started to get the volume. This is a 5-minute candle, so you can see how fast it happened. Excuse me. So what do? You don't want to chase it. You can look at this and say, well, hey, Mike, if I would have chased it, I still would have got a quick dollar something. And that's true. But the beauty of it is I actually missed this move and still have my best trade of the day in WLT. And here's why. First of all, I talked about the daily chart, how much I liked it if it got back over 40, and you'd be through the 200-day. I think I talked about all that in the weekend video. I'm not positive, but so now we had this big move over 40. Let me go back to 5-minute candles. Now keep in mind, everything's relative. When I said in the video that this thing looks great over 40, not when it climbs from almost 37 to 40 in 10 or 15 minutes. Okay, that's not the time to buy it over 40. That's important. But I knew this was really making the daily chart even look better. I knew there was a lot of shorts in this one. So this was my only focus after it did this, watching this pullback. I'll tell you what I did. I switched to 2-minute candles because a really strong stock, and WLT had a lot of things going for it, the daily chart, the 200-day, number of shorts in it. A really strong stock is going to bounce off the 8-period moving average on 2-minute candles, okay? So you could sit here and say, well, I missed it. I'm going to wait till it comes down to the 8-period moving average on 5-minute candles and look for a turn. But if they're really strong, they're not going to see that moving average, okay? So let me switch to 2s. Now, members in our chat room would agree with me if I were to say, how pretty is this? It's very pretty. You see the big volume, lower volume on the pullback, right to the 2.8, little bottoming tail here. And when it looked like this, my patience paid off. I went ahead and called it on 2s, which means the first break of a previous 2s high. The high of this candle I'm hovering over, 39.33. So 39.34 becomes my entry if it gets there, and a 39.07 stop below that candle. Below that candle, excuse me. And there's the trigger. Meanders for a little bit, and then look out. Right through the high of the day. I'm a seller when it gets back over 40. And I'm a seller when it's taken out that early high too, because it's come a long way. But this was what you call just a beautiful second wave and a great entry. So what's the lesson? There was the trigger. There's the stop. And guys, this was like a $1.30 move in about, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes on very narrow, on very low risk. And the lesson is that if you miss a big move, check other time frames, check the daily chart, see how it looks, and you can kind of gauge how excited the crowd is. And so oftentimes you can get a nice secondary play without ever having to chase this. And WLT worked out great. Another call I made today. Let's try that again. A home builder. Let's cancel that and start over. A home builder, DHI. This was getting ahead of itself. So when it looked like this, now again, keep in mind, people might say, well, why didn't you short DHI up here? I wasn't even watching DHI, okay? DHI landed on my radar because it was lighting up the new low for the day ticker. So, when it looks like this, it's not time to start shorting it. It's time to look for a reversal. I told everybody this had support around 23. 5-minute candles here. I like the fact that it put in a green, broke the previous 5's high, and then went back down. To me, that's what a proper reversal looks like. Now, the next time it triggers on 5s, we call this a secondary 5s in chat, okay? This was the first 5s bounce. Oftentimes, if you try to take it here, oftentimes these fail, and then the next 5, so we call it a secondary 5, works. I ended up calling this long at 23.08 on this green candle, low of day stop. And this doesn't look like much, but, then when you get this shape to the upside, we become sellers. So not a bad move from 23.08 to almost 23.50. I don't remember where the stop was. 14 cents below the entry. So not a bad little bottoming play there. I also sent out DHI at 23.10. to our SMS members. Whenever I see something that I think is bottoming, these are plays that our SMS members can take, from an SMS, from a text alert, and trade them smaller and have the stop a little bit wider than we would call in chat. And oftentimes bottom feeding plays work well on those too. So a DHI was also an SMS play and worked well for those guys. This is PAY. We already had this on Bounce Watch in the chat room, and this is one of our what we call Tokyo plays. There's nothing tricky here. Here's the early high on PAY right there. These are 5-minute candles, okay? So there's the early high. All of a sudden you get volume. And again, remember, we already had this on a chart. So this volume spike, here's how we play these, especially if it's something we're already watching. I already knew if PAY broke the high of the day, it had a good chance of going further. It's been down several days in a row, okay? So here's the high of the day. I already know if it lights up the new highs ticker, good chance for a rally, okay? So when I see this volume spike, I went ahead, and before it was even up here, I called it long at 32.60. So it wasn't up there yet, and it hadn't completed this candle. And the worst case stop, 32.50. We call that a Tokyo play. In other words, you see the volume coming in, you just grab it, especially if it's still below the high of the day, and especially if it's something we already had on Bounce Watch, and you can see what happened there, just climbed the rest of the day. So that's the highlights. I did have some bottom feeding, or I tried to catch a couple bounces in First Solar after it broke the high of the day and came back down, and I failed on a couple of those. Don't want to paint a completely rosy picture, but overall had some pretty nice trades today. I'm going to quit babbling, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.